Hello, I am here to answer more of your questions. If you are brand new to my channel, then welcome. My name is Melissa, and I used to be a part-time manager at a Bath & Body Works for about 6 years, and now I'm here on YouTube making Bath & Body Works related videos. I'm going to be spilling all of the tea, sharing my experience as one of the managers there, and answering all of the questions that you had about Bath & Body Works. So this is actually part 2 of the Q&A session. If you haven't seen the part 1, you can do that at the very end. They aren't necessarily chronological, so you can just do that a little later. I'll leave a link for you at the end of this video. I have so many questions to burn through. I still have 42 questions if you can believe it. So I'm actually going to be splitting this up into another part. So there will be a part 3. So stay tuned for that as well. Some of these questions may be personal. Some of them might be about my experience working at Bath & Body Works. And then some of them might just be kind of some deep burning questions that you have about the company itself. So we're just going to jumble up all the different types and I'm just going to go down the list. First question, what is your least favorite Bath & Body Works scent? Now, I actually am not very picky when it comes to my scents. I like almost everything. I will say that my least favorite fragrance category is like that masculine, musky, kind of like Axe body spray type scent. I really am not into that. Things like mahogany teakwood I think don't smell very good. When I'm thinking about body care, I think my least favorite fragrance, and it's not that I hate it, it's just I'm very not interested in it, and it's kind of weird for me, is probably warm vanilla sugar, which is funny because it's like their classic gourmand scent, and I'm just not into it. Actually, I know what's in there that I don't like. It's tuberose, and I do not like the scent of tuberose, which also brings me to another scent I did not like that had rose or tuberose in it. It was part of a Destinations collection in the candles, and it was supposed to be a Paris scented candle, and it was something like espresso and bouquet, flower bouquet, and it was like supposed to be coffee meets tuberose, and it was just so gross. Like, I am not one for returning candles. I returned that one so fast. I wanted to like it because I do love coffee scents, so that one Paris candle is probably my least favorite scent I've ever smelled. Okay, next question. Is YouTube your full-time job? Yes, I do YouTube as my full-time job, but I also sell on eBay to make money, and then I also have an unofficial house sitting and pet sitting business. It's unofficial because I don't advertise it and have my services open to everybody, but the clients that I have are mainly people like old professors I used to have when I was in college, neighbors, family, friends, and then what happens is they recommend to their friends and family. The word kind of gets out that way, so I have kind of a list of people that I usually take care of, mainly over the summer and winter breaks, but also random weekends and stuff like that. Sometimes the house sitting jobs even go up to a couple of weeks at a time, so yeah, that's kind of just the ways that I make money and how I make my living. What is your favorite fragrance that is not from Bath & Body Works? So I pretty much was exclusively using Bath & Body Works fragrances for the last 5-10 years, somewhere in there. And so I haven't branched out as much as I probably should have for new fragrances that are not Bath & Body Works. Just a couple of things that come to mind. They're not really fragrance as in like perfume or spray, but I love Raw Sugar's fragrances for their body care collections, both the adult and the kids ones. I think that the fragrances are just 10 out of 10. I think as for perfumes and other brands and stuff, oh, there's the Billie Eilish has a perfume that I really enjoy. It's like a nice caramelized gourmand. I'll put the picture of it and the fragrance notes up above. I haven't worn it very much, but I think that smells so good, so I'll say it's that one. What is a fragrance note you really dislike? I already said it, tuberose. That's the one I just cannot get over. I do not like that scent, and anytime a fragrance has it, I probably am not gonna like it. What's your favorite summer vacation spot? I don't really go on summer vacations. Like I said, I mainly do all of the pet sitting and house sitting for everyone so that they can go on vacation, so I usually don't go anywhere during the summer. It's very nice where I live in the summer. We do have an amusement park that is north of us that's really fun. Sometimes we'll go there if we're feeling like a little adventure. I'm in Idaho, so there's plenty of places to go hiking and be in nature. I mean, as you can see, even this is just my backyard and it's quite glorious, so I usually don't need to go anywhere to enjoy summer weather other than just my own backyard. Sorry, I couldn't answer that question much better. I'm not much of a traveler, at least not right now. If Bath & Body Works asked you to choose one scent to bring back, which would you pick? Ooh, that is a lot of responsibility because there's so many that I wish I could bring back. Let's think about this. My initial response was going to be Cup of Warmth, which I can leave you a picture and the fragrance notes there, but I feel like that would be a missed opportunity if I said that because there actually have been a few body care fragrances that have been close enough that I'm satisfied enough with those. Like the Pumpkin Picking, which is also now discontinued, was very similar to that. White Pumpkin Chai was also very similar enough. Considered also saying Lavender Spring Apricot, but the thing is I stocked up so much on it that I actually don't feel like I need to buy any. I have plenty in my backup, so I feel like that also would be a missed opportunity. I guess then there's the obvious art stuff collection. I wish they would bring back that whole line, and if I had to bring back one scent from that collection, I have to be strategic here now. I'm gonna say sherbet shake because I've never smelt it and I'm dying to know what it smells like. So maybe I'll just be strategic and say that, even though it's not because I need it back in my life, but because I'm so curious and I feel like I may never get that opportunity to smell it otherwise. So I guess I'll say that. If sherbet shake is reaching too far back, let's say bubblegum pop. I'm actually surprised that bubblegum pop didn't come back for semi-annual sale this year because I feel like everyone really enjoyed it. I did get some during semi-annual sale last summer, but I don't feel like I got enough. I think I'm gonna run out and then be sad about it. Other than fragrance and Bath & Body Works, what are some of your passions and hobbies? Ooh, that's a good question. So, a few of the biggest components in my life, actually besides Bath & Body Works, is music and video games. So I actually got my bachelor's degree in applied music, and I was able to get into music school through an audition for voice. So I started off as a voice student, but then I actually switched my main instrument to percussion my sophomore year and then stayed an extra 5th year. So I was a voice student for 1 year and then a percussion student for 4 years. Besides that, I was also a Sweet Adeline all through high school, and I really enjoyed Sweet Adelines. If you don't know, Sweet Adelines is actually women's barbershop harmony, so that was a lot of fun, and I still really love women's barbershop. I also grew up playing the guitar, both electric and acoustic. I grew up listening to music many, many hours of the day, and I even still do listen to music many, many hours of the day. I tend to be more of a PC gamer, so games on the computer more than I used to be, so I really enjoy things like time management games, you know, those little cute, silly ones where they're like trying to rush around the coffee shop and deliver orders and stuff, or making tacos or whatever the theme of the game is. So I like time management games like that. I love cute and cozy games like Animal Crossing. The two most recent and current games are Disney Dreamlight Valley and the Hogwarts Legacy. I just love Hogwarts Legacy. I am a Hufflepuff, so if you are a Hufflepuff, let me know down below, or you can tell me which Hogwarts house you are in. I actually enjoy going to the gym for fun, so I could include that in my hobbies. I like working out, and more recently I've been into cycling. I used to really enjoy cooking and baking, although I haven't been as much lately because I've just kind of been too busy with all the things that I've been up to right now with the home businesses and stuff. A new hobby since quarantine started is actually reading. I used to not be a reader at all. I actually quite disliked reading as a kid, and now I enjoy reading, and mainly because I like to read middle grade books, so pretty much books for kids. So I've been catching up on all the books I missed out on when I was that appropriate age to be reading those books. So yeah, that's another one of my hobbies lately. What do you think sets Bath & Body Works apart from other retail stores? That's a great question. Something that is not so common anymore, and even I've noticed it becoming less common in Bath & Body Works stores today. Ever since the lockdowns happened and social distancing and stuff, it's kind of changed the way things work a little bit, at least in my store location. But something that they really do differently is customer service. I feel like there is no experience like a Bath & Body Works experience if you get it done right, that is. It does have the potential to go very wrong if you don't have the right set of employees or if you don't have the proper training to do it correctly. I feel like they give the best customer service compared to any other store. I know a lot of people are gonna say that they have had poor experiences with employees or they're too sharky, and like I said, that can happen if you're not trained properly or if you don't have the right set of employees. But just assuming that everything is going according to plan and it's done correctly, I feel like they really care more about the customer than any other store does. It's a really personal experience since it's to do with your body and it's to do with fragrance, that, you know, having that experience to have someone uncover what you truly like and not just kind of pawn off whatever they like onto you. That uncovery situation is really unique and exciting when you go into a store and have that done for you. It's really nice. And then there's the obvious, you know, the products really set them apart from other retail stores as well, because I don't feel like people make body care like Bath & Body Works does, and it's been that way for years. You know, ever since the 90s, I feel like they've just kind of set the bar at a certain place for products. I think their marketing and their packaging also sets them apart from other retail stores as well. Besides just pleasing your sense of smell, they're also taking into account the way products feel and the way that they look, and I feel like that visual appeal is something that really sets them apart as well. Favorite music to listen to? This is a good question for me since, like I said, music is a big part of my life. Top 5 favorite music artists. I will say probably Morrow, Jacob Collier, The Rasmus, Björk, Imogen Heap. Frou Frou kind of falls into Imogen Heap because Frou Frou is a band that Imogen Heap is a part of, so we can say Frou Frou and or Imogen Heap. Anyone who's been watching my channel for a while knows that I take nostalgia and Y2K nostalgia, 90s nostalgia very seriously, and so lately I've been wearing out my Y2K playlist that I made on Spotify. It's pretty much all of my nostalgia music, anything from Backstreet Boys, NSYNC, Britney Spears, Jessica Simpson, anything that you put on a radio Disney CD, Disney Channel original movie music. It's not that I think think that it is good quality music, but it is definitely worth the mention since I have been listening to it a lot lately. What would you gift someone who's never been to a Bath & Body Works before? This did actually happen a lot. Someone would come into the store and I would have to sell to someone who I didn't know who was going to be receiving the gift, or it was going to be someone who was normally not into Bath & Body Works and they were just kind of like trying it out for the first time, I suppose. Saved gifts to choose from Bath & Body Works to someone who you're not sure what they like or you're not sure what kinds of things they'd be into from Bath & Body Works. Hand soaps, aromatherapy. Hand soap is a great choice because you know that everyone is supposed to be using hand soap, so there is going to be a higher chance that they will end up using it as opposed to something like a body scrub or a lotion that's a little more of a niche group. I find that something from the aromatherapy collection is often a good route to go if you don't know what kinds of fragrances they like, but you do want to take it towards the body care route. Most of the aromatherapy collection is gender neutral, and then it's always very giftable as well to have something that says stress relief or energy on it because it's kind of like taking into account like their wellness, so I find that those are very giftable products. What is my dream vacation? My dream vacation would take place during the fall, probably October, because that is when the leaves are at their crispiest and most colorful. That's when pumpkins are ready to be picked. I would want to go somewhere where they've got lots of fall festivals or festivities going on, somewhere where I can pick my pumpkin, pick some apples from the orchard. What do you call it when you go look at leaves? Like leaf peeping, I think it's called. Leaf peeping, something like that. Essentially, I would go on lots of walks or a horse carriage ride or some type of tour where I get to like look at all the different colors of leaves, probably somewhere in New England, have to hit up all the different coffee shops and drink all of the pumpkin and apple flavored drinks. I think in a vague sort of way, that would be a dream vacation of mine. If I could only wear one scent, what would it be? I guess the first one that comes to mind is Marshmallow Pumpkin Latte. I think that one might be my favorite scent of all time because it's starting to get the nostalgia and memories because I've been using it for so many years in a row that it's got all that memory scent association with it. But it's also one that is translated into still being one of the most enjoyable scents when I smell it to my nose. Instead of specific fragrance, if we were to say like which note or type of fragrance would I wear, I would say something in the marshmallow or vanilla category just because I am very seasonal when it comes to fragrances. I feel like depending on the context that vanilla and marshmallow can be in, it can either be translated as a cold weather fragrance or a warm weather fragrance. So I feel like it's the most versatile. So that's also another reason I would go with Marshmallow Pumpkin Latte. As for candle, I'm trying to think of the perfect answer because normally it would make sense to say like my most favorite fragrance, but I also, like I said, I'm seasonal, so I want to make sure that it like makes sense with seasons. Can I choose 2 candles? I'm going to choose 2. So for warm weather months, I would choose probably pineapple mango just because it's classic and it's unproblematic and I just enjoy it every time and it's just kind of like a staple. For cold weather months, normally I would say something like the peppermint marshmallow or peppermint sugar cookie, but I just feel like I really need a fall candle, so I would say probably cranberry woods because not only does cranberry woods get that autumnal feel, but it also kind of checks off a Christmassy candle as well, so I feel like it's the most versatile for the cold weather months. So I would do cranberry woods, pineapple mango, and those would be my 2. If you were to ask me in a week, it probably would be a completely different answer, but that's what I'll say for now. What was a favorite and least favorite memory at college? I went to college for a long time. I went for 5 years. I think what comes to mind isn't necessarily a school moment. It was during school and it was a big part of my schooling, but it wasn't the university itself. It was my experience working at this tiny local coffee shop on campus. I loved the coffee shop. I got really attached to it. I felt like it was my baby because I was like the only employee in there for a few hours every day. And so I really felt like it was my coffee shop and it was cute and cozy and it was autumnal. It had kind of like burnt orange walls. During Halloween, we would have a little TV going with like little cartoons of Halloween shows on it, and I would make lots of pumpkin pie lattes all the time. Like I said, it wasn't really being in school at that moment, but I would usually do my homework there and I would actually be working in between classes. So it was like a part of my school day. And then Jose and I used to bunk down there. We had such long school days. 7:30 in the morning was Jose's first class, and one of my last classes of the evening would be 9:30 at night. And so we wouldn't have a chance to go home during that entire time because my house wasn't that close to the university, and pretty much once you drive in, you kind of just want to stay there. And usually we had enough homework to do. Usually we would get in a workout during that time. We would do our homework while we were already out. And then both of us had jobs, and my job at the time was doing this coffee shop, and then later it was Bath and Body Works, but it was this coffee shop, and so it really did feel like a part of my school day. Even when I wasn't working there, we would usually just hang out there, and we would often be like the only ones there because it was kind of a not very well-known coffee shop. It was just kind of like off to the side, and it was kind of like a little secret. So that was definitely one of the highlights, was just spending time in that coffee shop and making drinks and being all cozy and doing my homework in there and stuff like that, and spending time with Jose. And then one of my least favorite memories was when they told me that they were going to close it. So that was really hard. I still feel like I'm not over it. And I don't know if they decided this very quickly or if they just didn't realize how much I cared about it and thought that I wouldn't mind or something, but I pretty much had 3 days to get all of my stuff out of there and be done with it. So all of the sentimental value was going to be crushed. I was left jobless. I had to get a box and put all of my mugs that I had brought in and all my scented candles that I was burning in there. I had to gather everything up. It was like I had a breakup or something. That was really sad, and that was one of my not so favorite days. Lots of other least favorite memories I can look back on now and laugh, but it was not fun at the time. They had you do these sight reading exercises, and pretty much I had to go in at like 8 in the morning. I was assigned a professor I had to go to, and I had to go and sight sing him these examples. They would be like weird atonal viola pieces, so we would have to like sing them in solfege and conduct them at the same time. And I just remember I would usually end up memorizing them instead of sight reading them, so that was not a favorite experience. 2 good memories that I think of when I think of like the best memory of actual schooling. Anytime I got to perform in orchestra, I was playing the timpani in orchestra, and I just loved that. That was probably one of my favorite highlight moments, was playing the timpani. What can a customer do to make your day? And alternatively, what can a customer do to ruin your day? Just the most important thing when a customer comes in is if they treat you like a human, that just makes a world of difference. You can always tell when someone has worked retail versus someone who has never worked retail comes in, because they just treat you so differently. I think my favorite customers were just the ones that would treat me like a human and just be personable. And I know that you may have social anxiety if you come in, or you might not be there to socialize, and that's totally fine, but also just remembering that these employees are required to greet you, they're required to ask you if you need help finding anything, they're required to put something on your skin, they're required to attempt to sell you something. So like just remembering that, and even if you don't intend on buying anything, at least listen to whatever they have to say for the first 10 seconds, being polite and nice and smiling. Like, that's enough to make someone's day. I know, like, whenever a customer said, wow, you're really good at your job, or wow, that was so helpful, thank you so much for helping me. Even though it's simple, it's enough to brighten an employee's day. On the other hand, things that can ruin a day, bringing in a huge bin of returns on a day that we are not making sales plan is definitely a day ruiner. This probably doesn't happen anymore now that they've changed the exchange and return policy, but back when I was working there, we would accept any and all returns to a fault. And there would always be that one person that comes in when you're already not making sales plan, and they would have a huge like Tupperware container full of Bath and Body Works stuff. Some of it would be empty, some of it would have a thick layer of dust on it, some of them would be broken because they dropped them, you know, whatever. And then they would want all of it returned or all of it exchanged for brand new shiny products. That was always a day ruiner, especially when we weren't making sales plan, because not only did we have a long way to go, but now we would be in the negatives. And then I think just the general customers yelling at you or lying to you for their own benefit, or patronizing or making you feel like less of a human being, or treating you like a vending machine, or doing this thing. I call it the hand. We don't like the hand. I think that's hard on all customer service workers. I think people like secretaries or people who have to answer phones, tech support, food service, any type of retail or customer service job, just remembering that they're a human and being patient goes a long way. Next question is, what are my favorite body lotion scents? That's an interesting one because I tend to use things in sets where I like to use my shower gel, my lotion, and my spray all at the same time. And so I never really have singled it out just to body lotion scents, but I do find that there are some forms that the fragrance just feels right in that form. Actually, the coconut pineapple I find is so much better in the shower gel and the lotion than it is the fine fragrance mist, at least the edition that I have, which I think was from 2021. So I'll say that one, coconut pineapple. That one's the best in the lotion as opposed to its other forms. What are your 3 favorite ethnic cuisines? Thai food number 1, and then I would say maybe Indian and Mexican would come somewhere in second and third, but it depends on my mood. Sometimes I'm really not in the mood for Mexican food, and then other times it's like I just want that and that only. Same with Indian food. Sometimes I get tired of Indian food faster, like lentils and chickpeas kind of get boring to me after a while, but I love a good curry. So I'll say Thai food, Indian, Mexican. The best strawberry scent from Bath & Body Works. For me, the best strawberry scent of all time from Bath & Body Works is strawberry soda. I love that one. It smells like gummy worms, it's fizzy, it's bright, it's juicy, it's candy-like, and that's just kind of like the vibe that I like when I go for strawberry scents. Also, strawberry scents on my skin tend to go weird depending on the blend. For example, Gingham Gorgeous has strawberry in it, but there's something about it that just goes on like sweet and sour sauce on my skin. There's something about my body chemistry that just doesn't like that fragrance. There was also a strawberry jasmine, same thing. It was like sweet and sour sauce. It was just not the vibe. I would say that the best selling strawberry fragrance right now is strawberry pound cake. I feel like that one has done extremely well since its release in the body care. Do you have a favorite color? Yes, I do, and it is seafoam green. Here, I'll put an example of it right there. In second place, I would say is purple. I like all shades of purple. Usually pastels come to mind more than the darker ones, but I do love dark purple as well. I think blue might be also a favorite color, but I would never admit it. How do you feel about the price increase? Do you think Bath & Body Works is worth it? Well, obviously I don't enjoy the price increase. Back in my day, the Bath & Body Works stuff was like no more than $15 a piece at the most expensive. Usually it'd be anywhere between the $12 and $15 range, and it would never go above that, and that's for ticket price. So I definitely don't enjoy when they increase prices, but I have to say that it is still worth it to me because I never buy them full price anyway. I used to indulge myself during 2015 and 2019, 2020 in doing the buy 3 get 3 free deal, which you do kind of feel that price increase, especially when you do sales like that. But for me, I do most of my shopping during semi-annual sales or with coupons. Now that I have a pretty full collection already, I don't really mass buy anymore. So I feel like I'm personally not feeling the effects of that price increase quite yet. So I'm doing okay, but I do understand why everyone's frustrated. But just do remember, it's not just Bath & Body Works. Have you gone grocery shopping lately? It gets so expensive so fast. Jose and I don't eat meat except for seafood, and so we buy a lot of veggie burgers, or at least we used to. All of that Morningstar stuff, which is the brand of like vegetarian meat that we would buy, has increased to like $2 to $3 per item, which is just really crazy. It's not just Bath & Body Works. I think everywhere is inflating like crazy. What kind of pet would you have if it wasn't cats? And you should give a little background on all of your cats. Okay, so I am definitely a cat person. I have 4 of them. There are 2 boys and 2 girls. I'll put pictures up, but we've got Percy, who's the oldest. Percy, we actually got his DNA done, and he's mainly a Siberian cat as well as Maine Coon. He's very sassy, very opinionated, bossy, and he used to be kind of a bad boy, although in the last couple of months he's been very well behaved, so yay him. Also, a funny story with Percy is we accidentally catnapped him. So we thought he was a stray, and it turns out that his owners just weren't taking very good care of him and let him kind of run loose all day, every day. So when we started suspecting he was homeless, we brought him into the house one day, gave him a bath, and integrated him to the rest of our cats that we had at the time. And then about a year and a half to 2 years later, some kids came to our house for trick-or-treating on Halloween, and they're like, "Look, it's Milo!" And we're like, "Oop, it's not Milo anymore, it's Percy now." So we got to keep him, so that was good, but oops. And then there's Arthur, who had a very humble beginning. He was born a feral, and my sister actually found him being bathed in a sink in a public bathroom, and she was like, "What's going on? What are you doing?" And so they had been bottle feeding him, and they were just kind of like trying to clean him up and stuff. So she didn't like what she saw, so she grabbed him and carried him home in her hands, and he was like wrapped up in a towel. And honestly, he was so tiny and so scrawny wrapped up in that towel that we actually thought he was a baby squirrel, and that was not uncommon of my sister to randomly bring home animals for us to rescue all the time. So yeah, he had a very humble beginning, but he's very handsome now, as you can see in his picture. And then we have the girls. We've got Princess Peach and Princess Daisy. Those are the only 2 cats that we officially adopted from the animal shelter. The rest of them we just kind of accidentally stumbled upon. They are biological sisters, and they are calicos. Both Peach and Daisy are quite the characters. Peach tends to be more the affectionate and lovey one, and she loves the other cats the most, even though they don't really give her the time of day. She's always the one that wants to cuddle and no one else really was into that except for Percy kind of tolerates it. And then Daisy probably I would say is the most hyper of the bunch, and she definitely has the loudest voice. Yeah, it's definitely a full house of cats, but we love all four of them so much. If I didn't have cats and I had a different kind of pet, what would I have? Oh, I forgot ferrets are an option. Maybe I'll go with a ferret. Would you ever work for Bath & Body Works again? Why or why not? I actually did work for them a second time around, so pretty much what happened is I stopped working somewhere around 2020 during the lockdown after a few months of not working for the company, and once the lockdown kind of lifted and things were trying to go back to normal, I did go back during the summer of 2021 and went until January 2022. I wanted to be more part-time. They were kind of in limbo land where they had a pretty high turnover and they were having a hard time training new employees, and a lot of people just kind of didn't know what they were doing, and they really needed my help as a manager, and I didn't want to be a manager. I didn't want to work full-time anymore, and so I wanted to do more things like floor set prep and floor set and shipment and just kind of doing like the behind the scenes, you know, maybe 15 hours a week, just because I was already doing YouTube at this point, and I kind of just had some other things going on in my life that I just didn't want to go back to that grind of 40 hours a week. But they weren't really able to respect that boundary, because it's hard when someone has all of the answers and they know what to do and they know what needs to be done and they can get it done, and then the person who is in charge of doing all that stuff isn't qualified to do it. And so there was kind of an imbalance that way, so it did make it really difficult to go back. It was just too overwhelming, and so I did end up quitting that second time. Also, the pay kind of felt unfair because it's already pretty low here in Idaho. When I was rehired, since I wasn't in that manager position, I think I was being paid like $3.50 less than what I was being paid for being a manager, and normally that would have been fine, but the thing is I was still doing manager work because I had that expertise, and they kept asking me questions, kept asking me for help. I did have to fill in as a key holder, a temp key kind of, and so I wasn't really feeling like I was getting compensated for all that I was doing for them, and so it just kind of got imbalanced pretty quickly. So for those reasons, I'm currently not going back to the company, but I'm also never saying never, because I still do want to work for Bath & Body Works. I just feel like it was a time when the boundaries weren't set in place. And now that it's actually an entirely new crew of people, a lot of time has gone by. The way that people run Bath & Body Works stores is quite different than when I was working there. I feel like the grind isn't as intense. And so since that intensity has taken a notch down, I have considered just going back to do floor set and shipment and kind of doing just like the little stuff so that I still have time for my own thing that I'm doing. I think if that were to happen, it's not going to be anytime soon. Transportation is another factor. It's not very close to where I live, and so I'm just not sure I really want to make that commitment, since I know it does take a lot out of me to work there since I've done it, so I know that I'm not quite up for that. One day there might come a time where I will do kind of those more part-timey type things again, and I sure would like to, so we'll see. What made you decide to work for Bath & Body Works? So it was 2015 and it was the summer, and I think that was the year that the coffee shop told me that they were going to close their shop and just be done with their business. I also had a gig teaching music lessons for a while, and so I think that I was just kind of in an in-between place and I needed a job. I wanted it to be something that I could do while still going to school, but something that was kind of like something enjoyable for me. Music students have it rough. Their schedule is really awful, and so I needed something that lined up with my music school schedule, and I wanted it to be something that was kind of extracurricular and fun and enjoyable enough that I would be able to do it while balancing being a student. It was kind of late 2014 to early 2015 that my mom and I had rediscovered the joys of shopping at Bath & Body Works. They actually knew me just from being a customer after I had been shopping there for a few months, and you know, I was a pretty good customer, so I think they're like, oh yeah, she knows her stuff because she owns all of it. So I think that that is kind of just what compelled me to apply there. During one of my shopping trips, I turned in my application and I talked to them a little bit. I actually was just hired for floor set. That's how I could kind of weasel my way in. And then eventually I got promoted to sales associate, and then from sales associate to an SLT, which is like their manager position. So that's kind of how it came to be. I just kind of climbed the ladder. How do you feel about Bath & Body Works products in general over the last 3 to 5 years? For me, it seems like they've really lost their magic wand, and I miss the super exciting candle candle collections. Yeah, I do kind of feel that way too. I feel like COVID and quarantine really changed the pace for Bath & Body Works. Also, they've had a pretty high turnover in terms of the more official department of employees. We've had a CEO change. There was the split from Victoria's Secret. There's just been a lot of different people in charge that used to not be. And so I feel like they're kind of trying to find their way and get back in the swing of how things used to be. I see glimmers of hope, so I'm clinging to those. I do miss some of the things that I used to see. And whenever I see a collection, like a picture from the past, I'm like, man, why don't they make products like that now? That would be so much cooler. But I think part of it is I'm heavily based in nostalgia, and I love when something brings me memories. And so when I see something from the past, instantly it makes me want it more. Like already I'm looking at stuff from last summer and I'm like, man, why didn't I get more of that? That stuff was so cool. I think it's just hard to kind of live in the moment and be excited about what's happening now when I keep looking to the past and thinking, oh, the memories and stuff like that. So I agree with you. I feel like they have gone a little bit astray in some of their packaging, some of their fragrance ideas and stuff. I had high hopes last fall when I first started seeing things released, but then by the time I smelled them and saw the collections and realized that that was it, I ended up being kind of disappointed. So I get that disappointment, and just know that when things kind of dip, they usually come back up eventually. So like I said, there's some glimmers of hope. Like for example, the packaging for a semi-annual sale of the summer collection with the little straws. That's kind of a throwback. I feel like they're kind of playing on some of the packaging themes that people have expressed they've really enjoyed in the past. So they still have their files. They still are kind of keeping tabs on what we like and don't like. So yeah, even though sometimes things get rough in terms of interest, I feel like they will always come back eventually. What are your top 5 or 10 scents? I actually made a video about this last June for my birthday special. It was, I think, my top 12 fragrances. I will put it in the card section above if you want to see what my top fragrances are. I feel like for the most part, they still are true today. There might be a couple that I would change out. Whew, okay, that's been a lot of questions, so I'm gonna answer one more question today, and then I'm going to save the rest of them for a part 3 video, so stay tuned for that. When it comes to the Bath & Body Works body creams, when the color changes to yellow, is it okay to keep using it, and why does the color change occur? Here's how I feel about body care expiring, especially the body creams. General rule of thumb for body care is you should probably try and use it up between 2 to 3 years. That is when their shelf life is in their prime. After the 3-year mark, if you start noticing signs of discoloration, separation, the fragrance kind of going rancid, then it may be time to consider throwing out your body care. If you choose to continue using your body care, it may cause you to break out or some reactions to your skin, but I personally have not experienced this. I have used expired body care before, and it has done nothing bad to me. Nothing bad really happens. I think it's just more that it becomes less effective, or the fragrance is less potent at this point. I believe it to be pretty much safe to use even past its shelf life. If the state of the body care is compromised to a point that is not enjoyable for you, then that is up to your discretion to toss it out. So if your body care is showing signs of going bad before that 2-year mark, it might just be something to do with the batch or the formula. Coconut and vanilla scents from Bath & Body Works always turn yellow much sooner than the 2 years. Discoloration is a normal process that happens to natural ingredients, so it is bound to happen sometimes. Some things that you can do to help keep your body care fresher for longer is keeping it in a cool or cold place. I keep mine in a basement, also keeping it in a dark place, and keeping your body care items sealed until you know you're going to be finishing it up. When the seals are broken or you've opened it and used it and it's touched oxygen, it will definitely degrade faster. If the fragrance is still okay, but it's more of a texture situation where you see some separation, oftentimes you can kind of just rub the bottle and massage it and shake it up real good, and then it actually can recombine itself, and it's usually pretty okay. So give that a try before throwing out your body care and see if that helps. All right, I think that is all of the questions for today. Thank you so much for asking me all of these questions and for watching this video. As I said, stay tuned for part 3, and I will see you next time. Bye.